Now that we have made some slip, let's get into some decorating techniques. So the first technique that we're gonna look at is marbling clay. So in the resources, you will find a handout that is named How to Marble Clay, and it's gonna take you through the steps that I'm gonna show you right here. This is kind of a fun process if you're working with slab work, if you're doing something like slump molds or anything that you're just doing a minimal construction with. So let me take you through that process. So as we're looking here, I already have a slab prepped and ready. This slab is kind of in a leather hard, it's not quite leather hard, but it's kind of like in the stage right before that, which is where we want that to be for this technique. So I already have one that I've done ahead of time so we can kind of see what it'll look like, but then I also have some in-process pieces of it as well, just to help visualize the entire process. So here is the tray that I have already done, and we'll get back to this one here in a second after we do this one. Here is a sample of a piece of bisque-fired clay. So I know it's hard to imagine, but this is a gray clay body, but it's going to fire white. And this is the color that it will be. And then any of the colored mason stains that you might be using or the colored slips that you might use will come out. So this is what it looks like bisque fired. And then this is what it looks like with a coat of clear glaze on it. So all of this will eventually turn out to be this. So to get started with that process, what you are going to do is you are first going to just put down a solid layer of slip. So I like to use a spatula, maybe even a scraper rib tool. So we're gonna put a thin layer on here, and I'm just going to spread this out. Now you can see it's coming over the edges here, which is totally fine. Because we'll use this to construct and cut out of later on. Okay, so once you have that smoothed out, sometimes it's kind of nice to shake it back and forth to make it settle a little bit. The next step is going to be adding in your color. So I'm gonna be just using this purple color that we mixed up earlier. And I'm just going to, I've put it in this bottle here, and I'm just going to draw some lines across like this. And you could do this with multiple colors, a variety of colors. You just wanna make sure that you have enough color on there. Okay, so then while this is still wet, you are going to take some type of tool. So whether that be the back of a paintbrush, a stylus tool, a toothpick, a variety of things. I'm gonna go ahead and use this clay tool. I'm just gonna start going in and I'm gonna start adding my marbled effect. So sometimes students can get a little carried away with this. So you just need to maybe talk about that sometimes with this technique, more is less. One of the things too that it's good to think about is, okay, what happens when I go over it one time but then change the direction of it? What is that gonna do to the process? So, you know, what happens when I just do one line at a time compared to 3 lines? Okay, so then at this point, once you have the clay marbled how you want it to be, you can just leave it like this, but we can't use this to construct right away. Because even though that this clay underneath is a little leather hard, the clay on top is certainly not set yet. And we need to give this time to dry. And as a result of this slip on top of it, it's gonna make the clay underneath of it a little more plastic than what it was when we started with. So you will need to give this some time to set up. Usually if you were to just leave it uncovered overnight, it's usually okay to start working with the next day, or depending on the schedule of your students, you might just lightly cover it with a bag and check on it every couple of days to see what it's like. So another option that you can do with this as well, and we're gonna kind of switch in between both of these pieces so that you can see this. So on this one that I already did, you can see that if I touch it, yeah, I could smear the design a little bit because it's not quite set, but if I go over here, it's not changing that color a little bit. So this stencil design was set on there when this was entirely wet, and so I'm gonna peel it off now. And as a result, I'm gonna have some texture left behind. So that can be a cool way to explore texture. This is how this piece was created in this way, and then maybe some carving was done to almost like a sgraffito technique a little bit, but some carving was done to add some subtractive detail and bring out the white of the clay again. So that can be an added element that you explore as well. So if that's something that you are interested in, all you need to do is you need to take your stencil shape when this is wet and just set it down on top of it, and that's it. So then from this point, once this gets to a point that you can start building with, you can start creating slabs with it when it's at the leather hard stage. Here are some other examples of some student mugs where marbling was used to create a slab was used to create the cylinder base of it. But it's a cool way just to add a little bit of variety and give a different effect that doesn't require glazing except for a coat of clear glaze at the end. So this is the marbling technique, and we will continue exploring some more decorative ideas.